everyone. Welcome to the Happy Numbers webinar on the mid-year assessment. I'm looking forward to discussing the next steps once your students have been successfully working in the platform for a few months. The mid-year assessment is a great opportunity for students to showcase their growth thanks to a combination of your math instruction and the differentiated learning opportunities presented through Happy Numbers. I just want to provide a brief overview of who I am and where I come from. I was a teacher for 10 years, and during that time, you can see that I worked with a wide range of students and abilities. I have experience in elementary and special education, as well as gifted education. And I was looking for a program that was not a one size fits all because each student has individual needs, while I'm still trying to address the grade level curriculum expectations. And so I'm happy to say that Happy Numbers exceeds those expectations. The plan for today is that I'm going to cover and expand on the following topics. I'm going to give you an overview of the assessments that Happy Numbers offers. We're going to talk about the methodology behind the testing, why it's important for students, teachers, and administrators. I'll walk you through the technical side of setting up the mid-year assessment, and then we'll dive into the results and how to evaluate those results and what that means for you as a teacher and your next steps. I'd like to start with an overview of Happy Numbers assessments and their different purposes. Happy Numbers provides 3 assessments during the academic year: the placement test, the mid-year assessment, and end-of-year assessment. The placement test is mandatory for all students in grades K through 5. Pre-K students are exempt from taking the placement test. The primary purpose of this test is to evaluate each student's initial proficiency level and tailor an individualized learning pathway accordingly. The mid-year assessment allows you to evaluate student growth since the beginning of the school year, and it adjusts students' position in the curriculum if needed. The end-of-year assessment is going to evaluate overall student growth from the beginning of the school year and allows you to see whether the student is ready for the next grade. All 3 assessments are adaptive in nature, featuring 20 to 30 items depending on the specific test and the student's grade level. Today, we're going to focus on the mid-year assessment and its design and purpose. At the onset of the school year, every K through 5 student completed the placement test, aiming to evaluate their initial proficiency and establish personalized learning pathways. However, as the school year progresses, there arises a need to reevaluate student knowledge. Recognizing that students not only address knowledge gaps through Happy Numbers, but also through interactions with their teachers and at home, the mid-year assessment becomes an essential tool. It allows us to gain deeper insights into students' achievements and enables adjustments to their learning paths, taking into account the topics they've mastered beyond the scope of Happy Numbers. Let's dive deeper into the mechanics of this assessment. As I mentioned earlier, the mid-year assessment operates on an adaptive model. However, unlike the placement test, where adaptability is based on student responses, the mid-year assessment adapts according to the student's position within the curriculum. The assignment of the mid-year test involves considering 2 parameters: the classroom grade and the student's current position in the curriculum. Matching these 2 data points creates an adaptive mid-year test for each student. Presented on the slide here are all of the possible mid-year test scenarios. As you can see, we have 4 test difficulty levels, which are color-coded red, pink, yellow, and green. 4th and 5th grades have all 4 difficulty levels, while, for example, 2nd grade only has 3. Let's explore an example with a 4th grade student working on tasks from the end of 2nd grade curriculum. To determine the appropriate mid-year test for this student, I locate the intersection of the 4th grade row on the left and the 2nd grade column at the top. Upon examination, I see that the test will cover 3rd grade content and will also cover some topics from the previous grade. In other words, Happy Numbers makes sure that the student is tested not only in the current and future areas, but also on skills that they previously mastered. This provides the fullest picture. In cases where students have not made progress in the Happy Numbers curriculum, the program uses their initial point, specifically their placement test result, to determine the appropriate test level for them. After completing the test, we assess the level of mastery and calculate the results, which is reflected in the Happy Numbers score. In the second part of the webinar, I will go deeper into how to interpret these results. If student performance on the test exceeds their current position in the Happy Numbers curriculum, we promote them to the relevant level. As a result, students can advance up to 1.5 grade equivalents beyond their current standing. As we see on the slide, I have a student, Olivia. During the mid-year assessment, she was placed in the early stages of second grade. However, based on her test performance, her curriculum placement was adjusted to a mid-third grade level. It was evident that she had already mastered certain topics as indicated by the test results, leading to the closure of those learning gaps. However, if the test result is equal to or lower than the current curriculum position, the program maintains the student at their existing level. In other words, the test is never going to downgrade a student. See the second picture on this slide, where the student's position in the curriculum was not adjusted. This is how our test works on the student side, measuring growth since placement and, if needed, adjusting individual learning pathways to match students' current math knowledge. It allows teachers to easily evaluate the math growth that students have achieved since the placement test. Our new Happy Numbers score simplifies the representation of students' growth since it is translated clearly with the grade levels in the Happy Numbers curriculum. Don't worry, I'll talk about the Happy Numbers score in more detail later. The assessment report provides administrators with valuable insights into the evolution of student performance, allowing them to easily compare math proficiency levels achieved on the placement and mid-year assessments, both at district and grade levels. The setup for the mid-year assessment can occur in two ways. For our premium users, the Happy Numbers customer success team communicates with school or district administrators to inquire about enabling district or school-wide assessments. Administrators determine the time frame in such instances, and the system automatically activates everything. Teachers receive informative emails containing details about the mid-year assessment dates. Alternatively, teachers, both free and premium users, can activate their individual testing dates. I'll demonstrate how to do this when I use my demo account. If your mid-year assessment dates haven't been configured yet, either automatically by our team or yourself, you can follow along with me to set everything up for your classroom right away. First, I want to make a note about my demo account. I have 16 first grade students. Some are below and some are on grade level. I'm going to start by going to the assessment section under your dashboard's report tabs. Here is the reports tab section. Now I'm going to click on assessments. Here I can see 3 assessments: placement, mid-year, and end-of-year assessment. My students completed the placement test, which set each of them on an individual learning pathway, and I have already chosen the mid-year assessment that started on November 1st. This was very simple. All I had to do was check the box next to the assessment and use the calendar button to select the start date. I'll show you these steps on the end-of-year test for demonstration purposes. I'm checking the checkbox next to the end-of-year assessment, and now I'm going to choose the start date to be May 1st. The last step is to click the Set Test Start Date to apply the selected changes. You're all set, and students will be prompted to take the assessment the next time they log in. Please note that the platform is set up by default to allow at least 3 days between the placement test and the mid-year assessment. Once students complete the test, you will instantly see results here in your teacher account, just like in my account here, and I can see that most of my students completed the mid-year assessment, and I can also dive deeper into their scores. At Happy Numbers, we know that sometimes retesting is necessary. For example, maybe you had a student that was distracted, or perhaps someone else was helping, or you might just not be satisfied with the result for another reason. You can reset the test within 2 weeks after it's completed. There will be a reset button next to the test score. Use it if you want to retest a student. If you don't see the reset button, contact support@happynumbers.com with your class code and the student's name, and our team will help with the reset. I know some of you might be wondering what the tests look like for students, so let's take a look. When it's time for the assessment and the students log into their accounts, they will see the assessment instead of their usual progress bar. Here's what it looks like for different grade levels. Teachers often ask whether they can see student responses on the test, and the answer is no, because the quantile framework for mathematics powers the Happy Numbers assessments, and these assessment items must remain confidential. This is to comply with the Metrometrics privacy policy and maintain the validity of the test. I'll start by talking about the Happy Numbers score and our new scoring system, which simplifies the evaluation of the test results for teachers. Happy Numbers hopes that more educators will take advantage of the mid-year assessment now that the results and the interpretation of these results has been made easier. As I mentioned already, the assessments were developed by Metrometrics, providing test results on a quantile scale. However, there was a lot of feedback from educators that the test results were not easy to read and interpret. The main difficulty with the previous test results presentation was that the quantile measures did not translate specifically to grade levels. So Happy Numbers changed that, refining the scoring system. It now corresponds clearly with grade levels and at the same time enables accurate placement in the Happy Numbers curriculum for each student. The Happy Numbers score is very straightforward. The first letter or digit represents the grade level, and the next two digits show the percentage of the curriculum covered at that level. For example, if a student scores 210 on the placement test, they're in the early second grade stages. And a reminder about our color coding system. Test results are represented in 4 different categories. Students who are far below their grade level have a pink dot. Students who are below grade level have a yellow dot. Students who are on grade level have a green dot. And students who exceed grade level expectations have a dark green dot. You can see all the colors on the screen here. Now that we reviewed how to read each student's Happy Numbers score, let's see how my students performed on the test. For that, I'm going to go to the yearly dashboard. As I scroll down to the student information, keep in mind that I have 16 students and some of them showed growth while others did not, and we'll see why in different examples. When we discuss growth, keep in mind that the growth of 100 points indicates 1 year's curriculum growth. So on the mid-year assessment, you should expect at least 50 points of growth for students who are completing the recommended usage of 45 to 60 minutes per week. Let's look at Nate's results. Nate is a first grader, and his placement result was PK80. For this, that means he has equal to 80% of the pre-K curriculum covered. For that reason, he was placed into the middle of pre-K. On the mid-year assessment, his result was 120, which means that he closed his gaps and now he is on grade level. The yellow arrow shows that after taking the assessment, he will continue his math journey. But this time, he'll be progressing through the first grade curriculum. Positive 120 is his math growth, the same as 120% of the school year curriculum equivalent. This is a perfect example of how the mid-year test will skip the student ahead because some gaps were closed outside of Happy Numbers. Let's look at another student, Sasha. She showed no growth on the mid-year assessment. And if we look at her curriculum progress and average time spent, both are lower than expected. We can make a conclusion that she is not spending enough time on Happy Numbers moving forward. We're going to recommend that she would hit at least 45 minutes per week for that time target. Or if time allows, maybe increase to the 60 minutes per week. Another student who did not show desired growth is Angela. But unlike Sasha, simply increasing the time target might not be sufficient, because you can see her average time spent on the platform is close enough to the desired target. Let's look at this student, as I need to investigate further. To do this, I'm going to click on Angela's name. This takes me to her student report. This report includes her personal skills report that's going to give us an insight into what skills she needs extra practice with, and that I, as a teacher, can add extra practice using our features such as assignments and printables. Right away, I can see that Angela needs help with subtraction with 5 fluency. As I mentioned earlier, Happy Numbers provides different options to help your students improve their knowledge. If I want to incorporate specific digital practice, I can do that by going to the Assignments tab. If I click on Add New Assignment button, I can choose Angela's name. Happy Numbers recommends a 10-minute practice set. when you're using assignments to build a student's skill. Since Angela is struggling with a particular concept, I don't want to assign any more than 10 minutes of practice. I'm going to choose both the guided practice and the practice exercises for that kindergarten subtraction skill that I want Angela to practice. I'm going to choose kindergarten for the grade level, and then subtraction in my list of domains. I'll then proceed to check the boxes next to subtraction with 5 fluency. In guided practice, we'll repeat the concept, and in the practice exercises, you'll see that she's going to work with more abstract examples. You can see how the exercises look by clicking on the Preview Selected Assignments button. Then choose the time period when Angela will have to complete the assignment. It will automatically start at 0 on the start day and stop after the end date. So it's important to put both a start and an end date to when Angela is expected to work on this assignment. The last step is adding the name of the assignment. This name is only for you. Students won't see it. You're all set. By clicking Assign to selected students, you will put everything in motion. Now let's see what happens after students complete their assignments. On the initial assignments page, I can see the already assigned extra practice. I would like to point to your attention to 2 students who need intervention. It looks like they're struggling with extra practice. By clicking on details, I can see that both were assigned subtraction with 5 fluency, and the system alerted us because their accuracy is rather low. In Angela's case, I see that the assignment is too difficult, and I can go ahead and cancel it by using the cancel button. In Haley's case, she needs my personal help with subtraction. For that purpose, we can complete the assignment together. In addition to the digital assignments, I also have access to paper pencil activities. You can go to the printables section of your teacher account. When considering Angela, I'm going to choose the kindergarten level. I'm going to type in subtraction, and then I'm going to choose subtraction with 5 fluency. I will access the page by clicking the printable to form a nice PDF. I can decide which copies and how many of each, easy, medium, and challenging. Happy Numbers provides leveled worksheets to help you differentiate your instruction. The printables are also available in Spanish, and you can download the document and print it for students to work with. In this case, I will see how Angela and Haley progress, and my next steps would be to repeat the same scenario, but with subtraction with 10 exercises to further reinforce the understanding. I focused on how to work with individual students who need additional support and targeted practice. Still, Happy Numbers also provides you with an option to identify not only individual students, but also groups of students who need extra help and add extra resources for them. For that, our go-to report would be the skills report. I'm going to switch to that tab located in your report section next to the weekly dashboard. I can see the diagram at the top that additional students are also struggling with subtraction at the kindergarten level. I can hover over the bar to see their names or open the subtraction domain in the report below. By clicking on a skill, I can group my students by their level of mastery so that I can see that these students with red and yellow skills can be grouped. I'd like to conclude this webinar with recommendations for those of you who have not yet administered the middle of the year assessment. Before assigning the mid-year assessment, make sure that students have worked on the platform for at least 2 months after taking the placement test. Verify that students fulfill that weekly time target of at least 45 minutes a week. This allows for appropriate curriculum progress. Notify students about the upcoming test, but assure them that the assessment is going to look like any other assessment or module in Happy Numbers. On the day of the assessment, make sure to maintain an appropriate testing atmosphere. This will ensure the most accurate test results because students will not receive any additional help from a peer or family member. For those of you who have already administered the testing, check your yearly dashboard and review your student results, with extra attention to those who scored less than 50 points on the mid-year assessment. Make sure to utilize the two newest features available to you, assignments and printables. Those are going to help reinforce your students' growth further. It's always good to remember the recommended 45 minutes per week time target because independent third-party research has shown that students who spend the appropriate amount of time on Happy Numbers achieve the most growth. I just want to take time to thank you so much for learning more about the mid-year assessment. I look forward to future webinars with you, and please feel free to reach out to support@happynumbers.com if you need additional support.